In today's day and age, there's a lot of people that fall into the category being a millennial. You fit in a role to where the old school worship doesn't really hit, if that makes sense. You feel as if you worship in public, that can come off cringy or come off uncool, or somebody might notice me. For some, and I feel like that's more of a new age mindset. That might be why worship has kind of dwindled in comparison to how it used to be.
If we are going to the house of God not to receive something, but instead to offer up a sacrifice of praise, to worship, my lifestyle worships God when we do it corporately. It can have a stronger and a much larger impact on our communities and our churches and our homes.
I am #blessed. I live in today's day and age to where I can eat ice cream every day for a living and still lose weight.
Wait, eat it for a living?
It's a part of my daily diet. I'd like to make it for a living. I really should look into that.
I feel so passionate, and my heart becomes pricked when we start to consider whether or not we as a people, the Christians of 2026, if we are going to the house of God not to receive something, but instead to offer up a sacrifice of praise.
We are live once again. Welcome, welcome.
And welcome once again.
That's it. That's exactly it. How are we doing tonight, Chris?
Well, Noah, I am doing super stinking fantastic. Thank you for asking. How about you?
As expected, that's good to hear. I'm doing as good as ever. How about that?
That's
No,
good.
as great as ever.
That's good.
Another day, another way to live life.
Another day, another way.
I'm just trying to think of something. I'm slacking because every week I say I'm going to come up with something and I forget. And then you say your very iconic catchphrase. And then I just totally dropped the ball on remembering that I was supposed to do that.
Well, okay. So today it's another day and another way.
Yep.
Right on.
Take that as you may.
Yes. Well, I am always excited about anything that's positive. Because positivity is such a big part of my life, has been for a long time. And it has influenced me and inspired me to enjoy life more.
I
I do.
agree.
I
There's no
enjoy
better
life.
way to live. When you embody positivity, it changes your whole perspective on everything you do.
Yes, it does. It really does. You can't really say it enough, and try to help other people see it
Yeah,
enough. You know.
that's always a nice thing to do. I'm just trying to figure out this whole life thing on my own, but I guess I could try to help other people.
Well, hopefully take the help. It's funny because we do that quite often, right? We catch ourselves just trying to figure stuff out, and as a result, missing an opportunity for some of the things, some of the really positive things, some of the benefits to positivity. And I
You gotta
think,
just take a moment.
yeah, absolutely, it would affect us so much better. And people don't realize that. And I really want to help them understand that through time.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. So how's this week going for you? What's going on? Anything special?
Absolutely. Yes, actually. Yeah, we came down and visited you. Got to hang out and experience a new church down there, which we'll bring up here shortly on the
Yep.
on our
Uh,
thoughts on the new church in northern Denver, Colorado.
yes.
We came and visited you, hung out, actually did a good amount of activities. I even recorded it and you got to be a part of it. It wasn't
Yeah.
anything crazy, but that will be coming. So if you haven't already, and if you're new to Duo Jive, I guess I should introduce Duo Jive before I
Please
jump into
do.
that.
Please do.
So we'll go straight into it. Welcome to Duo Jive.
Welcome.
Mm-hmm. Welcome to this week's episode, which is episode number, oh my goodness, we're on season 2. Season 2, episode
That
2.
yes, yes, and
Episode
yes.
dos. And whether you're tuning in for the first time or have listened to all current, however many episodes that we're on now, thank you, by the way, for listening.
Yes. Thank you
Welcome
very much.
to Duo Jive,
Yes.
Wyoming's top podcast for questionable advice, accidental wisdom, and deeply unnecessary storytelling.
Deeply unnecessary.
We're good at it.
We are, as a matter of fact. And I don't think we realized initially how deeply unnecessary the conversation might become at times, right? Or the
They can.
storytelling. Yeah, or the storytelling might become, but it's fun nonetheless.
Good.
And I've enjoyed the crap out of it.
I'm glad. Me too. I appreciate the conversations, and hopefully one day you and I will be able to have branch out and have conversations with other people. Wink, wink. If anyone out there wants to join in on as a special guest or something like that, shoot a comment below on whatever platform you're listening on, or DM us. Check us out on social media,
Yep,
whether that's
yep, yep,
TikTok or Instagram.
yep, yep,
If
yep.
you guys want to chat it up, that's where you'll find us. You'll find fun clips, and that's where you also find my personal social media to get back at the topic at hand. I vlogged this past weekend to an extent, nothing crazy. It's gonna be a, little compilation of a day in the life of us being in downtown, or not downtown Denver this time, but
Well, yeah.
Denver area, and go check it out. It's on Noah Avery. It will be linked in the description, or you can find me on YouTube at Noah Avery, and go ahead and check that video if it's out. So if you're listening to this at the release of this episode, it may not be out yet, so keep an eye out, but it will be coming out.
Well, you need to get on the stick, buddy.
I know, yeah. I'm still trying to post last week's episode, so I'm like a week behind, but we'll get
Okay,
there.
okay, okay. Fair enough. Well, by the time this one comes out, hopefully that'll have changed. And if you do get a chance talking to the viewers slash listeners, if you get a chance to, I rather enjoyed what the vlog, for the lack of a better term.
Yeah, it was
And
fun.
yeah,
We got
it
to
was.
try some neat stuff, and without going into too much detail, we got to try some new desserts a couple times. One was recorded, one was not,
Yes.
and we also got to do a little bit of outdoor hiking, which was a blast. I'm gonna be honest, that was probably it was one of those days to where you had nothing planned other than church, going to church that morning, and then following up with, "We'll see where the day takes us," and the day took us, man. I'll tell you what, I did not expect to end up where we did. I've never been to that town, which we ended up exploring a town called Golden, Colorado, which is a little Colorado, like, hiking town. They have a lot of trails, and they're right on the edge of the mountains, and we kinda dipped in and then took a trail all the way into downtown, so it was a mix. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. So let's get into that, if you don't mind.
Okay.
While we were at church, I invited some friends from work and to come with us. And one of them and his friend, I believe she was one of the execs from his company that he works at. But they came and visited for the very first time this church with us. And that
They
church
did.
is
We went to and attended for the first time a church it's actually, I guess they have multiple, but this one is called Life Church.
Life Dot Church.
Life Dot Church, and we
That's
went
correct.
to the North Denver Life Church.
That's exactly right. This church has been around for quite a while. I think it's a little bit over 40 years old. As far as these new, energetic, enthusiastic, non-denom,
Yes.
multi-church
Yeah, it's like a
organizations
yeah,
go.
yeah. They have this Life Church is spread out amongst different cities. They actually have
Right.
2 or maybe 3 in Denver, south,
Yep. Yep.
north, and then maybe another one, but
Yep.
the one we attended was North Church, and that one was brand new. That building was brand new, at least.
Yes.
So, I'd say that church in particular had to have been, what, maybe 3, 4 years old? I'm not sure, we have to find out.
Yeah, it might be a little bit more than that because there was a lot going on for a 3-year-old church, right?
Yeah.
As far as churches go that are new, this thing it feels to have been probably maybe 5 or 10 years old. But the building looked real new. So what they probably did was start this church and then grow into this building as far as the church for North Denver. But Life Dot Church, it's the church with Craig Groeschel, I think it is. I'm pretty sure it's Craig
Craig
Groeschel.
Rochelle,
Yeah.
I believe so.
Who's been around as an internet slash vlog type preacher for a long time. And a lot of people know about him. I think Abraham even went to that church for a little while.
So, actually, I just found out that church is less than a year old. That one that we went to in particular in North Denver.
The building.
Yes, the building
Okay. Yeah.
to Life Dot Church. The Life Dot Church in North Denver, located in Thornton, opened its new building on June 1st, 2025. So
Wow.
literally less than a year ago. The campus located at blah 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 in Thornton has a multitude of services throughout the day, and we, of course, attended the early service.
right, right. And that's kinda cool too because you've got, some of these churches, many of these churches now are understanding the benefits of offering different service times.
That can also be a disadvantage too.
Really?
I feel like it. I feel like I
Yes.
the one of the biggest disadvantages to having multiple services like that is you're on a time crunch. So depending on the type of church you go to, if you're familiar to that of Pentecostal or something in that realm, as an example, they usually end service with some sort of altar call or something in that nature, and they can linger on, they can extend. You can't do that when you have a 8:30 service and then follow up with an 11 o'clock service or a 10 o'clock service for that matter,
Yes,
and you have an
yes.
hour and a half time crunch to get through worship, to get through service and everything and the such announcements before following up with another service.
Yeah. I have mixed feelings. Very,
Mhm.
very, very mixed feelings because I grew up in an organization that did not mind having 2.5 hour long services.
No.
It was commonplace to have a
What
2 and
was
a half.
that, Pentecostal?
Yes, in United Pentecost, there were frequently, and if you go to camp meeting, it's
Notorious for
yeah,
having some
yeah.
pretty lengthy services.
Yeah, absolutely. And many times that time is influenced by what we call a long altar service,
Mhm.
where they would stand or sit or kneel around congregating closer to the front of the church and once you get the organ going there's no telling where
Yep.
it's gonna go, right? And I'm very fond of those memories. I don't hate them or despise them, but I didn't really like them that much.
No,
I felt like it was large and it was always for the sake of the one or two that was praying that everybody that would stay towards the front. And I always felt like it was non-productive time,
interesting.
comparatively speaking, for the whole church. I guess there wasn't anything wrong with it. And a lot of people just kind of migrated out,
But
and they
that pertains to the Pentecostal church. There we go again. We had a topic to talk about and immediately branched off. So before we get too into the deeply unnecessary storytelling, that was the Pentecostal church, but
correct.
you started off speaking about Life Church, and I kind of
Right, and you talked about the how that affected the service, right? And
mhm.
you can't have a long service, or you can't have a service that wasn't well thought out and programmed to a degree. And I'm very certain, I'm absolutely certain actually, that if any one of these churches, if there was a move of God in those services, that they wouldn't limit themselves in time. They would just turn it over to God, in that
But
case.
then how do you proceed with the next service?
People just get to show up and catch the end of something. Well, this has happened. This has happened for several churches, and it's actually turned into, in some instances, well documented revivals. Several have happened on college campuses and what have you, where church was destined or supposed to or scheduled to be last an hour, and it ended up lasting a week. You know,
Wow, it's a long church service.
it is. It is. But, who wants to let go when God starts moving in the middle of something?
That's true.
If when God starts moving and the spirit becomes so palpable that you can almost and your expectation suddenly grows and your because there are people that show up at these services didn't really look for God so strongly to show up, didn't look or anticipate God to show up, so but he did, and all of a sudden they're benefiting from it and their expectations and everything grows, right? And
That's
these turn the
that's the whole point, you know? It's
yeah,
it's it's a it's bringing those people to God and bringing them to have a close relationship with God,
absolutely, absolutely. And if we could do it every week,
strengthening.
I wonder if, things always have a tendency to die down. Every revival has a tendency to die down. And maybe that requires a little bit of research before we get too deep in it. But, I'd like to know why that is, and I think some of us maybe even know why that's human nature. But, and again, it comes back to those shorter services
Yes.
being so tightly scheduled together. And there's one thing that I know that has been sacrificed, in order for us to have those tightly scheduled services.
And
Any guess what it is?
hmm, if I had to guess, and when you say what you're saying, what you're asking is, um, what's causing that issue?
Well, there's one thing that has been sacrificed, has been intentionally shortened.
Altar call, worship,
Worship. It's worship. So and this is not for everybody, right?
not at all.
If you were to talk to the average person, as a matter of fact, they're going to be like, "Oh, that was great. Yeah, that was a great service. Great. We went in there and we clapped our hands to 3 songs, and we feel like we've done something." And that has always bothered me.
Mm.
That thing. I feel so passionate, and my heart becomes pricked when we start to consider whether or not we as a people, the Christians of 2026, in every major city in America, if we are going to the house of God not to receive something, but instead to offer up a sacrifice of praise corporately, of course, as a group. I praise God all the time, and I'm listening to the radio, and I'm making up songs and prayer and doing different things to worship. My lifestyle worships God, but when we do it corporately, it can have a stronger and a much larger impact on our communities and our churches and our homes and our state, our country, even, as a matter of fact.
So you think people are doing wrong by not wanting to worship as long?
Well, there's a part of me that having grown up, so it's a good example would be what have Americans largely been introduced to as young children, brought up through their from their toddler years on up through their high school years, college years, and more. What were they exposed to? And how many of them have been exposed to environments that encourage and foster these these times where as a group we come together not to accomplish a goal of getting the deed done, like praising God, but instead came there, have been exposed to going to church with the intent of lifting up and exalting God in a sacrifice of praise. And for
So when
however
somebody doesn't have that mindset, how do you help them, or is that required? Is that wrong of them not to have that mindset to where they feel as if worship isn't the main priority?
well, what is going to be our main job when we get to heaven?
That's a good question. What does the Bible say?
The Bible says we're going to worship God forever. Okay. We're going to spend most of our time worshiping God. And if there is no earth for us for a time, for a time for us to go live a life of worship, and in our lifestyle worships God and causes other people to see God, but instead everything we're doing at that point when we're in heaven is predominantly centered around worshiping God, which, by the way, I'm very fond of, extremely fond of being able to just lift God up in song and praise and melody and make something up in my heart. When we're in that place, the question to me at this time is, what should we be doing here? Should we be looking for opportunities as a people to gather together and do that? Just exalt. We're not there to preach, we're there to worship, to exalt in melody and praise. We're there to exalt the King of Kings and the Most High God, and the only one who is worthy of that praise, right? And when we do, what happens to us as people? What is He going to do for us, to us, in us,
It's a
if
good
we
question.
if we come together as a group and as a people with that very thing?
Does the Bible go into detail as far as that question right there?
I don't know. It's funny because I guess I've been through Scripture, the entirety of Scripture from Genesis to a Revelation. I've been read through the Bible probably 4 times in my life. That I've gone through many times of drought where I wasn't reading scripture or listening to scripture, right? But I've been in this season for the past couple years where I've been kind of really loading up on it, and doing more of it. And I don't recall, I don't think there's anything in scripture that says, hey, by the way, if you take time right now, pre-rapture, go to heaven moments, right? This during this time before that, if you live that lifestyle, it's going to be better for you. I just did it just, for me. It's just been an important thing to do personal.
Yeah.
I'd like to do it corporately. I know that we all live busy lives, but I just wonder if that's an unspoken thing.
I think that's definitely something that goes under the radar is worship. In today's day and age, there's a lot of people that fall into the category or the realm or the mindset, me being one of them, being a millennial, if you will. Am I a
Yeah,
millennial? I think I am.
yes, you are.
You fit in a role to where the worship doesn't, the old school worship doesn't really hit, if that makes sense. It doesn't really
No, it
put you
doesn't.
in that mindset. And then on top of it, you're also hesitant because you feel as if you worship in public, that can come off cringy or come off awkward or uncool, or somebody might notice me. For some, there's a lot of people that don't care. This doesn't go for everybody. It's just people that kind of are similar to me in that regard, and I feel like that's more of a new age mindset. Now, that might be why worship has kind of dwindled in comparison to how it used to
Mm,
be, as far as how
mm.
you were raised. I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
trying to
I
think
can
of
totally see
as
that.
to why that it kind of has changed. There has been a boom, I will say. Not well, yeah, worship it as a whole, especially in the Christian music artist industry. There's been a boom in the past like year to where all of a sudden these Christian artists are kind of blowing up, exploding, getting as popular as these other major, rap artists or pop artists or someone like that. Now there's a whole Christian kind of genre that has taken over. You've got the top names, and you've got some, just a whole category or a whole plethora of different artists, and it's good music. I don't know if it's the type to worship to. There's some worshiping, it kind of fits a niche, would you say?
Well, I think you're dead on. Now, it's funny because I didn't think about this until just right now. But when I graduated from college with a degree in communications, one of the things I needed to do so I could graduate, and it was to bolster my grade point average. But one of the things that I was expected to do was work as a or serve an internship, right? And in that internship, I started in an industry. I had intentions to work in television. However, it changed along the line, and I went to radio. And in my burgeoning years, as I emerged into the radio market, a guy asked me a question at a young age. He said, "Hey, man, what are you going to do if you go to work at a radio station and it's not Christian? Are you going to play their music, right?" And that
It's a
turned
good
into
question.
and it was a great question that I really hadn't considered. But the only kind of radio that I listened to at the time, unfortunately, I was in Houston, Texas, that had one of the largest at that time, one of the largest contemporary Christian radio stations in America. It's all I listened to, and I never really gave it much thought. Finally, I made the decision and then served that internship at that station. I was very fortunate to get to do that. Now, here's the why I said all of that. As I burgeoned into that market, that world of radio, contemporary Christian radio, there were groups like Hosanna Integrity and Don Mullen and certain people that you don't hear about right now. But man, were they ever producing? Oh my goodness gracious, they were producing worship sets, leading these worship sets in these churches that were starting to, at the very, very early stages of it, introduce the non-denominational contemporary scene.
The type of worship you would listen to in a non-denominational church, more traditional church, more
Right,
modern church.
right. But now here's what was different to me, and this is what I noticed the most, and I brought it up to several pastors. Since most of the pastors I knew were old fashioned, it was kind of an interesting conversation, and even some found it offensive. Most of this worship music was verdict.
Now you're gonna have to explain what that is.
All right, I'm glad to, because it's always been something that's very important. I remember as a young man, anywhere from the age of 8 years old up, roughly. This is all really rough, but at that young age, hearing the songs that were being sung from hymnals. Everybody knows what a church hymnal is, right? It's a book of songs, and they got page numbers. And Pentecostal churches especially had these Pentecostal hymnals. Baptist churches had the Baptist hymnals. The Assembly of God churches, and so on and so on and so on, right?
It's like a way to sing without actually having, like, a band or anything like that, just coming together with their voices,
Well, yeah,
almost
you could.
harmonizing words.
Well, if you had an organ or a piano and drums, you could put something together, right? With these
Most hymnal churches don't usually, other than maybe an organ.
Well, and more importantly, they don't have screens. Most of them never had well, we did not have any screens at that point in time in the Pentecostal churches. And the denominational churches were the ones that were kind of introducing the screens, right? And Don Moen was very good at writing songs that were vertical. And what I mean by that is if I walk into a room, okay, and I'm there and God is attending there, right? And of course, we're going to have him sit in the big chair, right? I mean, in the main chair, the focus of the room, right? We're there because of God, right? And when we walk into that room, if we start singing about God, that's cool. That's cool. It's awesome. I don't ever want to discount it for less than what it is. It's cool. I mean, it's great. I'm sure God appreciates it. But if we as people we come there to talk to Him, God, you are exalted. God, you are amazing. God, you have worked wonders. No one can do what you do, right? And then when we start to do it in chorus, I believe, and this is just me, because I'm a worship fanatic. When we do that, it's going to be received by God, and it's going to be more real to me. Whereas if we're in there talking to each other and we're talking about we got, there's testimony, I guess. I guess a good way to put this would be testimony and vertical worship. When you want to testify about God, that's great. But if you're going to I'm going to talk to Him personally.
You wanna
Talk.
worship him.
I want it to be direct, right?
Yeah.
And many, 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 many songs in the hymnal were songs about God. They weren't songs that were directed specifically to God and designed to tell him, what he's
Would you
worth.
think that means it had less of appeal to God, kind of hindering the full connection that you could have in worship?
Well, that's where, as a young man, it started when I was young, right?
Kinda
But
that
what, but it,
realization?
but as a young man, I could not sing the songs in the hymnals. Let me think of a song. At the cross, where I first saw the light, and the burden of my heart rolled away. Okay,
Well, you
that
heard it
was a
here
hymnal
first,
song,
folks.
huh?
Okay. You
Yeah,
heard it here first, folks. Chris is
not me singing, but the
he's gonna make
song.
our new intro with his voice.
But the song was sung once, twice a month, along with quite a few other songs, but they were all like that, singing about the cross. That's the cross is great. But when you sing about the cross instead of singing to God and exalting Him, right? It has always gotten lost in my heart and in my mind. I never could connect with it. I mean, I enjoyed them. I thought they were good, but they took up too much time.
Now, bringing it back, do you think that Life Church kind of also fell in that kind of category?
Well, Life Church, okay, and I think part of it is understanding human nature. Life Church had songs in there available this past weekend when we were there. We sang 3 songs, and they were
As you
pretty
normally do, yeah.
exactly, and that's become the habit, that has become the pattern for us in these churches. A lot of these churches is to do 3 songs. Very, very matter of fact, there are a lot of churches I go to are doing 2 songs. And what
Now that
happens
seems
And what happens with those 2 songs, then 3 songs? 2 or 3, right? That's the average. What's happening that during that time? During those 2 or 3 songs, people are coming in later than normal, right? They're coming in later than the start. They're coming later than the start time. So they're not getting the benefit of all of that. They're not plugging into what's going on in that service. Hopefully the intent, and I know the pastor's intent is this, and the worship team, their intent hopefully is that way, where you're coming together and exalting God, Well, it takes a minute to get settled in and plug into what's going on, right? So we're not getting the full benefit.
And by the time you're plugging in, you're already on song number 3,
Yeah, and it's
going
almost
into
over.
yep, going into the next part of the service.
Yeah. And I think I think we're missing out on something there. I do. I really do. And I probably should take some time to put it together in word, right? In research to communicate these kinds of things more clearly and maybe take the time to notice whether or not God even cares.
That's I mean, with your passion, there has to be some care there. I actually personally, I agree with you, even though I know I've got that millennial mindset. But yeah, it's just studying and really figuring out what he means by that when it comes to worship,
Yeah.
and
And that's
figuring out how to fix that in these more modern churches that apparently Life Church, along with the other churches we've also discovered being in the same kind of genre, if you will, you could say like non-denominational in Denver, they kind of deal with that same situation when it comes to worship. As far as what you're saying, does that cause you to not want to go to non-denominational churches more?
to not want to go.
To not attend or attend a different church?
Well, what it has done for me, since I travel for work and have been doing so for almost 15 years. As a traveler, every town I've gone and those jobs that I was doing for the longest time were worth 2, 3 month jobs on average, sometimes a little bit longer, right? But when I would go into a town, the first thing I would do is start looking for service times of every church that was not Presbyterian or Catholic or anything, because I knew that I wasn't going to find anything there. But
Wow,
looking in
airing out
what
all your dirty laundry.
that's not dirty laundry. That's just fact, baby. You know,
Well, yeah,
yeah, it is.
don't get me started on that tangent, but
Well, we should sometime.
yeah,
But
that's a good
but
idea.
but I would go on the hunt for a church, and I would start looking for it. And there were rare times, and here's where it is: there were rare times where I would find a church that was like, "Oh my goodness, this church is plugged in, dude." They are, and I felt like if I missed a minute of their service, and on any day that they had service, I was there. And
Mm,
if I missed a minute of that service, I was sad because I couldn't be there to exalt God. And I walked into a church. This is kind of serious little side rail point, but I was in a little town, a ghost town. Dude, this was a ghost town in Oklahoma, and I'm gonna have to remember the name of that town. I've been to so many, but in this town, it was so ghosty. The businesses were all closed up. I mean, there's like one on every block that was open, and in this 6 block town. And I showed up at the church, and it's like, where did all these people come from? Right? Even on a Wednesday night. Even on a Wednesday night. And there was no time.
it's a
And
shame that those are the places that you find the decent churches rather than a major city where it houses the most population.
and that's because people are living. The more urban you get in your search, the more people are restricted by time. It's amazing. When you're more rural, those churches do not feel affected by time.
True. Yeah, you're more free in your time and what you do in that service. They're not restrained to putting on a show.
And man,
It's
and the,
more
and the songs they
focused
were
on
singing and the
to a
feeling
degree.
behind their songs.
Can you believe that we've been talking for 35 minutes and still haven't even given our dessert of the week?
Sorry, man. Yeah, if there's a topic that where I'm gonna get derailed, that's one of them.
Man, well, we once again showed our deeply well, it's not unnecessary in this
No,
circumstance,
no,
but our
deeply necessary.
yeah,
Deeply necessary.
just who we are, duo
Yeah.
jive, the rabbit trail after rabbit trail, tangent after tangent, and
Yes,
to wrap it
absolutely.
up, Life Church, what do you rate it?
Life.Church, I gave a 6.
Okay, we need to be specific. Life Church in North Denver, because granted there are different churches, which their churches should be similar because it's all the same group, same brand, so they have the same routines. But this was the Life Church in North Denver, and you said 6?
Out of between 1 and 10, I give it a 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10.
Yeah, that's me personally, and
I
largely because
think
of the time issue. What about you?
yes, I think I give it a 7.5 out of 10. And that's because yeah, I think that's because of uh the welcoming. The welcoming experience, it was very inviting. They had people pretty much on every corner, which a lot of churches do this, and this church in particular fit that role to where the invitation was there. It was very exciting. The kids' church seemed very fun. I'm gonna have to. We didn't get involved in that, of course, but that seems like a whole thing is that's a whole part of a church. That's kind of it's very important, but we aren't involved in it, being that we're mainly focused on the main part of the church, the main worship and main church
The
service.
adult side, yeah.
Yep, the adult side. But overall, I like the newness of it, of course, and all of that good stuff. But there's, of course, room for improvement.
As would be the case anywhere, right? And
Hmm.
if we were in the business of grading churches, it might be carry a little bit more weight to it, right?
Hmm.
Because we may like a church for reasons that some people don't like
That's
about,
true.
you know,
Well,
and
that's the
vice
beauty
versa.
of it is people can agree or disagree, but we're just out here giving our own opinions
Yes.
and letting them know what our insight as to what we think of this church. Since we've been to a couple, we've been to a few, haven't been to them all by any means. You got to keep an open mind if you want people to hear you out as far as your opinion on church, because if you're very set in your ways, you're only going to have those people follow you because you're not going to hear out anybody else. And so why would they listen to you?
Yeah. And this would be a really good one to get a couple of guests in on
Yes,
the conversation.
I agree. But yeah, overall, Life Church was a good one. Not saying that it wasn't bad or lower in that regard, but it was a good church service. I absolutely loved the early morning church, like being able to go to church at 8:30. I used to
Yeah.
despise it back when I was a
Yes, you did.
prepubescent teenager, which was not long ago, and I wasn't a fan of it because you had to get up too early and I could sleep in. But then I had a one, which is now a 1-year old, and getting up at 8:30 is actually late. So it's nice actually going in at 8:30 and doing church and all that, and unless the service ends all day, you're already wrapping up by 10 o'clock, 10:30,
Yeah.
and able to
Yes.
kinda go on and do
Which was
early
the
morning
case this week.
activities. It felt like you still
Yep.
had a full day.
Which brings us right back to the guest or the friend that I invited to go with us. He did show up, and we asked him where there was a good trail, for us
Mhm.
to visit.
And that's where it led to our Golden, Colorado hiking experience.
Correct. He
Yes.
recommended Golden, and it went from there.
That and so yep, which that's the vlog. You'll be able to check that out, which was a blast of an experience. And I just wanna mention, or I wanna say to you, that restaurant, I've gotta go back. I have dreamed
Yep.
about that restaurant now. I want a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit from that place like nobody's business.
So where did we go?
We went to a place called Atomic Cowboy, which is like this super like mix of two different restaurants. They're like, we don't want one, we don't want just breakfast, we don't want just dinner or lunch. We want it all. And so why not take two restaurants, mash them together, and then create this conglomerate of different vibes and scenarios. It's very retro, futuristic, but at the same time, New York pizza joint. So it's a mix of and chicken sandwiches or biscuits. Like it's called
So it was
Atomic. It's kind of weird.
biscuits. Yeah.
Yes,
Atomic Cowboy was the
Denver Biscuit Company and Fat Sal's Pizza.
right, right. So the Atomic Cowboy was the hamburger side of it, correct?
Yes, no, no, no. Atomic Cowboy has the two restaurants. The one that served hamburgers was Fat Sal's New York Pizza,
Okay.
and
And
then the
then who
chicken
served
sandwiches and chicken biscuits and all that and breakfast items, French toast and all that were Denver Biscuit Company.
Denver biscuit? Yep, there you go. There you go. And by the way, I love that restaurant as well, and would love to go back. We need to make that a Saturday trip.
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
So that is
Will
on.
be happening here soon. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it may not be the one in Golden.
No,
that-
you have one closer.
That's
So,
right.
yeah, we have some options. And then the night before, we actually I got to try my dessert of the week.
Which was
Well, I guess to go straight into it, my dessert of the week was at Andy's. a custard place we went to
Yes.
one in downtown Denver or central Denver. It was right outside of Denver. It was in Aurora, and they have a couple different locations. If you're not familiar, it's literally just a business that sells custard, and they have a crap load of different flavors of custard and toppings and all that good stuff. And that reminds me, I need to plan to make a video there to where I go and see how many scoops I'm allowed to get on one cone. That'll be a fun video. But
Yeah.
the flavor I got, what's that?
That is one of their offerings.
Crazy, right? You could
However
literally
many
get unlimited
scoop.
scoops.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy.
The flavor I chose this week was Gooey Butter Cake. It was actually their limited edition at the time, seasonal,
Yep.
Gooey Butter
Special.
Cake custard special, and that was so good.
And that indeed it
The
was.
gooey butter cake chunks in it were huge, it was a lot of it. They did not skimp out, which I love. It had a vanilla custard based, so that paired well in my opinion, and it wasn't anything crazy. That's literally what it was. It was just gooey butter cake mixed into the custard, and it worked well
How
in my
can you
opinion.
go wrong?
It can't.
It's like, okay, it's not just a sure thing, but it's a tasty thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that was my dessert this week as well.
We both got it. Yes. That was your dessert of the week as well?
Yes, sir, I was, and it was a highlight from the weekend, right? For me,
Yep.
being able to say that I went and partook
I agree.
and
Does it make you wanna
enjoyed
go
very well.
back?
Oh, yeah, yeah, and, the funny thing is Andy's is pretty close to where my RV is for this
That's
trip,
dangerous.
and it is. If I did not have at least some self-control, I would be there every day. But, I haven't gone back since we were there the other night, when? On Saturday, I think it was? Saturday.
Yes, Saturday night.
And because I got my fix for the week, I guess would be a good way of looking at that. Like you, I too was rather enjoying my experience with the gooey butter cake because it's so tasty. Now, I'm also
Just
scared.
tasty?
Well, it's tasty and it's gooey, right? And they have actual gooey butter cake in the ice cream, right? It's not just the flavor of gooey butter as an ice cream that's infused. There's also the actual gooey butter chunks of gooey butter cake, and it's good to the last drop, and it was really amazing. It's also kind of scary because it's an addiction forming goodness, if you will.
It can be. Yeah, custard's a good thing, but it's healthy though because it has egg in it, right?
Yes, it does.
So it makes it healthy.
I guess if you add that to all of the sugar that was in it, right?
And the milk and the gooey butter cake in our instance.
Yeah, quite the fat concoction.
Mhm. So I will be looking forward to it next cheat day.
What do you give the
Unfortunately,
what do you give the good butter cake?
what do I give it?
Yeah,
That is a good
1 and 10.
question. Dang, I think I'm gonna have to give it a 9.2.
To look, I was going for a 9.5 or even 10.
Not a 10?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Wait, hold on. So this is better than the Biscoff we tried a couple weeks or months ago?
Yes, it is. Just a little, just a smidge. Now, the only thing that could so I'll maybe go a 9.7
Okay.
because the only thing that could possibly make this particular concrete or Sunday or whatever, well, it was a concrete, that could make this concrete a 10, a solid 10, would be that if they had the Biscoff flavored custard with gooey butter chunks in it.
That would be something special, and I think you're onto something with that. We might
Right.
have to make it ourselves.
Well, or can they do it for
I
us?
don't know if they can. I think they removed Biscoff from their menu. It was a limited edition.
Well, then.
I think I like it better than the Biscoff too. I think the Biscoff was good, but we ruined it by putting too much. We doubled up on the Biscoff and it
Yes.
overpowered.
Yes.
Maybe if I went back and did it with the normal allotted
Yes.
amount that the experts know what they're doing
And
on their
yes.
portion control,
Yes.
get that and then compare it, it might be hand in hand or Biscoff might win, but right now Gooey Butter Cake takes the cake, and so much
Pardon the
so
pun.
that yeah, well, what can I say, you know?
Yeah, right.
This week, this next cheat day will be me indulging in some actual gooey butter cake. Not buoy
Okay.
gutter cake,
Okay then.
gooey butter cake.
All right. Gooey butter cake and I have had a love-hate relationship because it was very, very instrumental in my dad and his demise because
Well,
he loved it
dang,
so much and he did it for years, ate gooey butter cake every single weekend.
he loved it too much.
Yeah, and that was a very good lesson for me and should be for anyone as to what happens when you don't practice self-control, you shouldn't love things too much, and so on and so on.
Let it take control of your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can enjoy and indulge, just learn to know your limits and learn to
Yes,
know when to enjoy and when to back off and give yourself a break for a time being.
yeah, and it wasn't Gooey Butter's fault.
Yeah, you could say that.
My dad had that. That was entirely self-inflicted.
I just realized that I do my own homemade ice creams, and I think I'm gonna make a vanilla base and try to incorporate an egg and make a homemade custard that I
Okay.
then can throw a healthier version, not because of having to be healthier, just because I like the healthier version. And it would be fun to try to make a healthier custard that I can throw a gooey butter cake slice in and make my own homemade.
Dude,
I might have to do some research on this.
dude, and you get the Biscoff flavor while you're at it just so we can try it.
I've already done it. I've already done my homemade Biscoff. It's
Nope.
fantastic. 10
Nope,
out of
you did
10.
not. Nope, you did not. You didn't make a Biscoff flavor and put some gooey butter cake in it.
Oh, no, 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 no. You're right. You're right about that. I did a Biscoff base ice
Yes,
cream with the Biscoff
yes,
chunks, but
and
it
I
didn't have
tasted
gooey butter
that,
cake.
and I tasted your Biscoff, it was freaking amazing.
Yes, it was good. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
considering that it was as low calorie as it was, as high protein as it was, and yet it still tasted, in my opinion, worth eating. Not no Andy's custard on a Saturday night gooey butter cake, but
yep,
definitely
yep,
enjoyable throughout the week and knowing that you can enjoy it pretty much every day and still hit your goals. I mean,
yep,
let's be
yep.
honest.
That's pretty
Let's just,
amazing.
I am like hashtag blessed I live in today's day and age to where I can eat ice cream every day for a living and still lose weight.
Wait, wait, eat it for a living?
Literally every day.
Okay. Alright,
It's
you
a
can
part of
eat
my
it.
daily diet.
Alright, alright, alright.
I'd like to make it for a living. I really should look into that. But
Well,
as of right now, it's just a daily diet.
I'm understood, and wow, it's good to think about.
Well, maybe if I start posting on our Duo Jive account, well, first of all, if I post on it more often, that would help. And then second of all, if I post on it with some stuff like that, maybe some fun ice cream recipes, maybe our follower count will jump up. We're still 9 followers away. We're stuck. We're stagnant. It's a shame, but the grind don't stop. We're
No,
9
it doesn't.
followers away from being able to hit the 50
Yep,
follower
yep,
mark. And when we do,
yep,
then we
please
can
share
start
it on.
going live, doing some
Yep,
live shows, and even conversate with you guys. And if you guys want to know about my ice cream recipes, because I got some, more than happy to share with you guys on how to create the ultimate high protein, low calorie ice cream, whatever flavor.
that's that's a pretty promising motive goal.
Then I can make it ice cream a living.
That's fantastic. Alright, so, thank you, by the way, to our listeners and our viewers for helping us grow that number. Please
Mhm.
share on TikTok. If you don't have a TikTok account, well, then this would be a good reason to get one,
Yes,
right?
sir.
So thank you for that. Thank you very much for your help there.
hmm Is this a good place to wrap it up? I think so. Creeping up on an hour, just as usual. We'll let everyone else go about their day, getting something, chore or something done. Hopefully, we were a decent part of that, getting that chore or whatever task, or if you're just listening to us while you're sitting on the couch, thanks for listening to us. And I've got another hot take of the week.
Okay, then. I watch and wait for that eagerly.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, they've been fun and even a little bit astounding. We'll get into that later,
Perfect.
I'm sure. Yeah.
It would be just a saying if it wasn't debatable. That's what makes it a hot take.
All right. All right. So, what's this week's?
Some are fun, some are more pertaining to the topic of the week. This week's is a fun one. My hot take for the week, and to wrap up this week's episode, is most people don't actually like coffee. They like sugar and caffeine. And remember,
What?
live life to the fullest.